Hi everyone, I'm Shelly and you're watching There's No Place Like Home. I'm back with another Question the Narrative video, and today's topic is Divine Counsel meets Divine Judgment, When the Stars Fall. I'm going to admit that I am being rather ambitious with this video. I'm hoping to cover a lot, and I'm hoping to do it in a cohesive manner in which I'm not rambling. So if you can just pray that I am able to do that to save both your time and my time. As many of you know, I have been covering a lot of eschatology over the last few months. And one of the most common comments that I get on these videos is the idea of the stars falling to the earth, especially those that are spoken of in Revelation 6. Now, when it comes to the stars falling, what I'm finding is that most people are imagining a literal event with the stars falling, and that can differ on what people think the stars are, whether they think that they are balls of gas burning billions of miles away, like Pumbaa always said in The Lion King, or whether some people believe that they are just lights in the sky and that they might come down in something that looks sort of like this image right here. But today I'm going to go over a third option of what these stars may have been, and it could very well be an origin for the apocalyptic language that is used. Now, I'm going to say right off the bat that these are all my opinions. This is something that just hit me as I was thinking about this topic, so I thought that I would share it with you, and I would like to get your comments to see if you think that this is a possibility as well. But yeah, first of all, I'm going to say again that I have been saying that the stars falling to the earth is apocalyptic language, and I do believe that it is. It is apocalyptic language for a divine judgment against rulers, against nations, and this is something that I'm going to share with you in several verses to show you that it's not just Revelation that the stars were said to at least be prophesied to fall to the earth. Now, sometimes it's not specifically the stars falling, sometimes it's the stars dissolving, sometimes it's the stars not giving off their light. But suffice it to say that the general idea is that this is actually referring to the divine judgment of rulers. Now, when we talk about the use of apocalyptic language, a lot of people believe that this is something that is purely symbolic. I happen to believe that the language that is used in many of these descriptions may have some reason for being expressed that way. So I believe that it is possible that there was some sort of physical event that caused these words to be used when it comes to divine language or divine judgment, sorry. And I think that I might have come across something. But first of all, I just want to share this with you. I went over this in another video a couple of years ago, and I found it very interesting. And it's called The Night the Stars Fell. The 1833, yeah, there's that 33 again. If you watched, it wasn't my last video, I think it was 2 videos ago, there was an event that I went over that apparently happened in 1933. And you do see these Masonic and occultic numbers showing up over and over. So yeah, we'll take this with a grain of salt, but I still wanted to share it. The 1833 meteor shower. It was the night the stars fell. In 1833, people across North America witnessed a powerful celestial event that appeared downright apocalyptic. Hundreds of thousands of streams of fire lit up the night sky in a massive shower that lasted from the early hours of the morning to the cusp of sunrise. Reports from across the country on November 12th and November 13th described the meteor shower as like snowflakes or a shower of stars. This reflects the huge number of meteors visible from Earth that night, a whopping 150,000 meteors per hour. An article from the Arkansas Gazette by William Woodruff described it as a remarkable phenomena. They could be seen in every quarter and flying in every direction, though generally toward the southwest, and kept up an incessant illumination of the heavens. Woodruff went on to note that the event began late night, early morning, and the sky was clear. The meteor shower was only visible in North America. Researching the phenomenon, American astronomer Denison Olmsted sent out a public appeal for witness testimonies. He asked for the time when it was first discovered, the position of the radiant point above mentioned, whether progressive or stationary, and any other facts relative to the meteors. People answered his call, and Olmsted eventually published his findings in the American Journal of Science and Arts the next year. Some credit this venture as the first use of crowdsourcing for scientific research. Other accounts of the 1833 shower include those of various Native American tribes, Abraham Lincoln, Joseph Smith, and Frederick Douglass. At the time, there had been limited research into meteor showers. Astronomers had not yet found a link between the showers and comet debris, nor the influences of, quote, gravity, the sun, and other, quote, planets. Therefore, many interpreted the event as something supernatural, ranging from a harbinger of Christ's second coming to God's wrath. Some observers feared that meteors would hit Earth, but they skimmed past Earth. Now, I just don't want to just skim over this. I want to show you this. The people at that time, some of them believed that it was a harbinger of Christ's second coming or of God's wrath. So even at that time, they understood that stars falling could very well be the wrath of God or a divine judgment. So this isn't a contemporary concoction. The true cause of the spectacular meteor shower was the constellation of Leo. Officially known as the Leonids, this meteor shower puts on a spectacular show for stargazers every, will you look at that, 33 years around November. So it happened in 1833, they say, and it happens every 33 years. All right, just had to point that out. Around November. So unbeknownst to onlookers in 1833, the intense meteor shower was not a one-off event. According to historical records, it dates back to at least 900 AD. I will leave a link in the description box to this article in case you wanted to read the rest of it. I really wanted to share with you the coincidental numbers, but more importantly, I wanted to share with you that even at that time, the people identified the sight of all of these stars falling as being a divine judgment. And these were not stars that were hitting the earth. Let's just point that out here. It was just something that they happened to see in the night sky. Now, before I get into my hypothesis regarding the divine council, I just wanted to share with you some other verses, both Old Testament and New Testament, that do have similar language being used. And this is one thing that I do remember replying to a commenter who thinks that in Revelation 6, this is something that is literally going to happen and that there will be no stars left in the sky after this. And I said, well, how many times would the stars be able to fall out of the sky? And he said once. And that's a problem because it is reported multiple times in the Bible. So first of all, let's just look at Revelation 6:13. This is the one that is used most often by people. And we'll read this whole section over here, the context section. And when I saw the Lamb open the sixth seal, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black like sackcloth of goat hair, and the whole moon turned blood red, and the stars of the sky fell to the earth like unripe figs dropping from a tree, shaken by a great wind. The sky receded like a scroll being rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved from its place. Okay, from there, let's move on to Isaiah 34, verses 4 to 5. All the host of heaven shall rot away, and the skies roll up like a scroll. All their host shall fall, as leaves fall from the vine, like leaves falling from the fig tree. For my sword has drunk its fill in the heavens. Behold, it descends for judgment upon Edom. Upon the people I have devoted to destruction. So this was a historical event. And right here, again, it tells us that the host of heaven shall rot away. In some translations, it says dissolve. And in the literal translations, it actually says consumed, the host of heaven, which are also known as the stars, and the skies roll up like a scroll. So it sounds very similar to what we just read in Revelation 6, but this is something that happened in the divine judgment of Edom back in the times of Isaiah. Next, let's read from Ezekiel 32. In the 12th year, in the 12th month, on the first day of the month, the word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, raise a lamentation over Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and say to him, you consider yourself a lion of the nations, but you are like a dragon in the seas. You burst forth in your rivers, trouble the waters with your feet, and foul their rivers. So I just want to show you that this is speaking to the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Okay? Interestingly, it also calls him a dragon, and there's a lot of I would say even not foreshadowing, but you certainly see similarities between this and what is written in the book of Revelation. That has a lot of similarities to the Exodus from Egypt. So now I just scrolled down a little bit, and as you can see, we just read in verses 1 and 2 that this is speaking to Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And what does it say to him? When I blot you out, I will cover the heavens and make their stars dark. I will cover the sun with a cloud, and the moon shall not give its light. All the bright lights of heaven will I make dark over you, and put darkness on your land, declares the Lord God. Again, here is another judgment involving the stars on, this time, the Pharaoh. Next, we're in Isaiah chapter 13, and it's verse 1 says, the oracle concerning Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amoz saw. So this is a judgment against Babylon. A historical judgment against Babylon. We will go down to verse 10, and it says, for the stars of the heavens and their constellations will not give their light. The sun will be dark at its rising, and the moon will not shed its light. As you can see, much of the same language is being used over and over again when it comes to divine judgments. In verse 13, it says, therefore I will make the heavens tremble, and the earth will be shaken out of its place at the wrath of the Lord of hosts in the day of his fierce anger. More of the same language. And then down here, this verse 17 is for those of you who are going to say, well, this prophecy against Babylon is talking about the prophecy that was spoken of in Revelation, where Babylon was not actually historical Babylon. Well, verse 17 tells you this is historical because it says, behold, I am stirring up the Medes against them, who have no regard for silver and do not delight in gold. So Babylon was actually attacked by the Medes. And the Medes, yes, they were a real people. They were an ancient Iranian people who spoke the Median language and who inhabited an area known as Media between western and northern Iran. So this was historical. This is not something from the book of Revelation. And Mark 13:25 says, and the stars will be falling from heaven, and the powers in the heaven will be shaken. And actually, let's go over here and read the context verse. It says, but in those days after that tribulation, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light. Does this sound familiar to you? The stars will fall from the sky and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. At that time, they will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory. So again, we have the same imagery going on. Now, though, we are going to get into the section that I really wanted to talk about today, and what I am wondering if what the stars are actually signifying. So I was looking at some of the highlighted parts that I had in the book of Revelation today and some of the comments that I wrote, and this was maybe six months to a year ago that I was studying the book of Revelation with some friends, and I found some interesting comments. And so first of all, let's read Revelation 8:10. It says, the third angel blew his trumpet, and a great star fell from heaven, blazing like a torch, and it fell on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. I'm going to go over here just so you can read the next verse. The name of the star is Wormwood. A third of the waters turned bitter like wormwood oil, and many people died from the bitter waters. So I had that verse highlighted in my Bible, and also Revelation 9:1. I had lots more highlighted, but these are the two relevant ones right now. Revelation 9:1 says, "And the fifth angel blew his trumpet, and I saw a star fallen from heaven to earth, and he was given the key to the shaft of the bottomless pit." In this verse, the star is actually called he, not it. Now, I will say that some of them, it does say it, but not all of them. There are some, let me see, there in the literal translations. The literal standard version, "and there was given to him the key of the pit of the abyss." And what I have written in the margin is, "Wormwood is a star, not a meteorite. Is it a celestial light or a heavenly being?" And then underneath that I wrote, "The star with the key is a heavenly being. I believe wormwood is a heavenly being." And that's when I started to think, the stars that are being referred to in these divine judgments, is it possible that they are related to the divine council, and specifically to the dispersion of the nations in Deuteronomy 32:8? First of all, though, let's just take a look at Job and see what it has to say about the morning stars. Job 38 says, "Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, 'Who is this that darkens counsel by words without knowledge? Dress for action like a man. I will question you, and you make it known to me. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Tell me if you have understanding. Who determined its measurements? Surely you know. Or who stretched the line upon it? Or what were its bases sunk? Or who laid its cornerstone? When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy.'" The morning stars sang. And it is a common thought that the morning stars are referring to heavenly beings. And we certainly saw in Revelation 9:1 that the star was called a him. It was called with a masculine term. So over on BibleTools.org, it says, "The terms morning stars and sons of God are biblical names for angels who express joy when events in God's plan unfold. Not only God, but also angels are thrilled when a sinner repents of his worldly ways. Prayer for forgiveness brings about joyous repentance and restoration of righteousness in a person's life." So according to Bible Tools, it is telling us morning star is referring to angels. And in fact, there are other Old Testament verses that are referring to Lucifer as a morning star, which would be he was a heavenly being. So you're probably wondering what all of this has to do with the stars falling from heaven and falling to earth in these prophecies. Since it is known that this language is being used when it comes to the divine judgment of rulers, it is my thought that it is possible that the stars that are being referred to, at least in some cases, especially in the book of Revelation, could be referring to the Elohim, those who were placed over the nations. So if you go to Deuteronomy 32:8, it tells us, and this is after the Tower of Babel, it tells us, "When the Most High gave to the nations their inheritance, when he divided mankind, he fixed the borders of the peoples according to the number of the sons of God." If you're not familiar with the idea of the nations being allotted to the sons of God in Deuteronomy 32, I'm going to share with you some passages from Unseen Realm by Dr. Michael Heiser because he eloquently describes what was going on at that time. Deuteronomy 32, 8-9 describes how Yahweh's dispersal of the nations at Babel resulted in his disinheriting those nations as his people. This is the Old Testament equivalent of Romans 1, 18-25, a familiar passage wherein God gave humankind over to their persistent rebellion. The statement in Deuteronomy 32:9 that the Lord's, which means Yahweh's, portion is his people, Jacob his allotted heritage, tips us off that a contrast in affection and ownership is intended. Yahweh, in effect, decided that the people of the world's nations were no longer going to be in relationship to him. He would begin anew. He would enter into covenant relationship with a new people that did not yet exist, Israel. Most English Bibles do not read according to the number of the sons of God in Deuteronomy 32:8. Rather, they read according to the number of the sons of Israel. The difference derives from disagreements between manuscripts of the Old Testament. Sons of God is the correct reading, as is now known from the Dead Sea Scrolls. Frankly, you don't need to know all the technical reasons for why the Sons of God reading in Deuteronomy 32, 8-9 is what the verse originally said. You just need to think a bit about the wrong reading, the sons of Israel. Deuteronomy 32, 8-9 harks back to events at the Tower of Babel, an event that occurred before the call of Abraham, the father of the nation of Israel. This means that the nations of the earth were divided at Babel before Israel even existed as a people. It would make no sense for God to divide up the nations of the earth according to the number of the sons of Israel if there was no Israel. This point is also brought home in another way, namely by the fact that Israel is not listed in the table of nations. As odd as it sounds, the rest of the nations were placed under the authority of members of Yahweh's divine council. The other nations were assigned to lesser Elohim as a judgment from the Most High, Yahweh. That this interpretation is sound is made clear by an explicit parallel passage, Deuteronomy 4, 19-20. There, Moses says to the Israelites, "And do this so that you do not lift your eyes toward heaven, and observe the sun and the moon and the stars, all the host of the heaven, and be led astray, and bow down to them and serve them, things that Yahweh your God has allotted to all of the peoples under all of the heaven. But Yahweh has taken you and brought you out from the furnace of iron, from Egypt, to be a people of inheritance to him, as it is this day." Deuteronomy 4, 19-20 is the other side of God's punitive coin. Whereas in Deuteronomy 32, 8-9, God apportioned or handed out the nations to the sons of God, here we are told God allotted the gods to those nations. God decreed, in the wake of Babel, that the other nations he had forsaken would have other gods besides himself to worship. It is as though God was saying, if you don't want to obey me, I'm not interested in being your God. I'll match you up with some other God. Psalm 82, where we started our divine council discussion, echoes this decision. That psalm has Yahweh judging other Elohim, sons of the Most High, for their corruption in administering the nations. The psalm ends with the psalmist pleading, "Rise up, O God, judge the earth, because you shall inherit all the nations." So let's take a look at what Psalm 82 says. Psalm 82 says, "God has taken his place in the divine council. In the midst of the gods he holds judgment. How long will you judge unjustly and show partiality to the wicked? Give justice to the weak and the fatherless. Maintain the right of the afflicted and the destitute. Rescue the weak and the needy. Deliver them from the hand of the wicked. They have neither knowledge nor understanding. They walk about in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are shaken. I said, you are gods, sons of the Most High, all of you. Nevertheless, like men you shall die, and fall like any prince. Arise, O God, judge the earth, for you shall inherit all the nations." These lowercase g gods, these Elohim, were being judged for not adequately ruling the nations. I'm just going to share one more paragraph from Unseen Realm, and I will leave a link in the description box to this book because it is excellent. But it tells us, the Old Testament therefore describes a world where cosmic geographical lines have been drawn. Israel was holy ground because it was Yahweh's inheritance, in the language of Deuteronomy 32, 8-9. The territory of other nations belonged to other Elohim because Yahweh had decreed it. Psalm 82 told us that these lesser Elohim were corrupt. We aren't told how the Elohim Yahweh assigned to the nations became corrupt, only that they were. It is clear from Deuteronomy 4, 19-20, 17:3, 29, 25, and 32:17 that these Elohim were illegitimate for Israelite worship. Now, with that in mind, with the knowledge that these Elohim were corrupt and that they were going to be judged by God and that they were placed over other nations, let's take a look at what 1 Corinthians 15 verses 24-25 says. Then the end will come when he hands over the kingdom to God, the Father, after he has destroyed all dominion, authority, and power. For he must reign until he has put all his enemies under his feet. So, the question that I am asking is, are these Elohim, are these stars that are being used in this language, these stars that are falling, these stars that are being dissolved, these stars that are not giving off their light, is it because they have had their dominion, authority, and power destroyed? Is it because they were placed under Christ's feet? Is that what all of this language that we have been looking at is talking about? Not burning balls of gas or even burning balls of light flying down to the earth, but is it talking about these Elohim, these angelic beings, these lowercase g gods that, yes, were given authority over nations? And 1 Corinthians 15 tells us that Jesus needs to place all of these nations, all of these authorities under his feet. All of these enemies have to go under his feet. So have we been looking at these verses all wrong? Are they apocalyptic language? Absolutely, yes. But I am wondering if the origin of all of this, and specifically if what is being talked about in Revelation, is when these Elohim were finally being judged for how corrupt they were and for what they did. That's just a question that I have, and I would love to hear your comments. Anyway, that's all that I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one either here or over on Instagram. And if you like my work and would like to check out my YouTube membership, I will leave a link in the description box for that, or you can just click on it right on my channel page. And I hope you have a great day.